Hey guys, it's Winnie. Now, I know I normally do vlogs on my channel, but I thought that maybe you guys would appreciate it if I switched it up a little bit, so I decided I'm going to try to do my first story time with you guys. It's up to you whether or not you guys want me to continue doing story time. Let me know down below, or tweet me or whatever, I don't know. Somehow let me know. I'm going to tell you guys about the time that I think I may have had an almost encounter with a UFO. It sounds really silly coming out of my mouth, but just listen to the story and you guys decide and you guys tell me what you think. Now, this happened more than 10 years ago. If I had to say, probably 13, 14 years ago. I used to live down in Tempe. I was going to school, I was working, and whenever I was able to get time off from both school and work, I used to come back to the reservation to visit with my family, and this was one of those instances where I was able to. So the plan was that I was going to get off work at 12:15 in the morning and go home and go to sleep, get up early and start the drive home. And get home probably late morning, at least by noon, at the very latest, before noon. But it didn't go as planned. Now, what happened was I got off work at 12:15 in the morning. I went home and I tried to sleep. I could not sleep. I tried it and tried it. I was just rolling around. Couldn't sleep. I ended up giving up and just decided to start the drive home. I started driving from Tempe at the very latest 2 o'clock in the morning. I can't say, when exactly, but I know, I tried to sleep. I couldn't. I just gave up. I started driving. So I'm going to say about 2 o'clock in the morning, I left Tempe and started driving. Now, if you're familiar with Arizona roads, you know that well, you may know, I don't know, you tell me. There's a shortcut. Instead of going up, I-17, hitting Flagstaff, and then going east on I-40, there's a route from Mesa to Fountain Hills, from Fountain Hills to Payson, from Payson to Heber, from Heber to Holbrook, and it pops you out really close to the reservation. And depending on where you live on the reservation, it's a shortcut. And it was a route that I had taken several times. I was familiar with the route. I'd driven it, in the middle of the day, at night. I hadn't driven it early in the morning though. So this was gonna be my first time driving it early in the morning like this. I left Tempe about 2 o'clock in the morning. I got to Payson about 3 o'clock in the morning. I did a little bit of shopping there at the 24-hour Walmart. I don't know if it's 24 hours anymore, but I ran in, got some items that I needed. I was back on the road about 3:30. I hit Heber and I was making my way out of the tree line. I actually was out of the tree line at this point, and I was more closer to Holbrook than I was to Heber. So I had cleared the tree line. The tree line was about 5 miles behind me, and I could see Holbrook in the distance. It wasn't close, but it was a cluster of lights at least. I could see Holbrook, and I was, getting closer and closer. And this is where it gets weird. This is where I'm like, what happened? But okay, so I'm driving and I'm listening to my tunes. I'm driving in my little silver Chevy Cavalier, which was my first car ever, and I'm cruising along. Now, for those of you that know this route, it's more flat than it is hilly in my opinion. When I say that, there's hills, but nothing that really requires a lot of acceleration, but it's more flat than it is hilly. So I'm cruising along, and out of nowhere there was a flash of light, and it came from behind me at an angle, like this area, like to the left, back left of me, right here, this area. And it flashed and it projected my shadow onto the dashboard right in front of the passenger seat. And I remember first looking at it, and the weird thing about this is that the flashes continued, but the position and the source changed because my shadow moved across the dashboard like this. And it wasn't like my shadow moved like this, it was like flashes, boom, 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 boom. And the only way that I can try to explain that happening is if the source or the position of the flashes went behind me like in a semicircle. So if it flashed here, my shadow projected here. If it flashed here, it projected here. Flash here, it projected here. Flash here, projected here. And it went across my dashboard like this. And I remember instantly thinking, oh crap, photo radar enforcement, I'm gonna get a ticket. And I started thinking, I'm like, whoa, why did my shadow move? So I looked in my rearview mirrors thinking that maybe it was a police officer and I was getting pulled over. Didn't see anything, no flashing lights, no nothing. It was just completely dark behind me. And the road was deserted. There was no one behind me, there was no one in front of me. It's only a two lane highway, so there's the lane that you're in and there's the lane for oncoming traffic. And it was middle of the night dark. It was dark. And I don't know what possessed me. I still don't understand why, but I actually came to a complete stop in the middle of the highway. I didn't pull off onto the shoulder. I actually came to a complete stop in the middle of the highway. I know it's stupid when you really think about it, but you know, I'm young, I'm dumb, and I had that mentality that nothing was gonna happen to me. You know, when you're young, you have that, I don't know why you think that. So I came to a complete stop. I remember looking in my rearview mirrors again, and I got out of my car. I don't recommend doing this. Don't do that. It's stupid, and just don't do it. I got out of my car and I remember looking off into the distance, and I remember seeing the freeway. It's like way off into the distance. I remember seeing the freeway. I remember seeing, you know, lights from houses, I guess people that live near the freeway, I don't know, but I remember seeing lights. I look behind me. It's completely dark. You know, the trees, the forest is back there behind me, 5 miles behind me at least. I don't remember anything registering for the south, but I actually started walking around my car, which is stupid. Don't do it. I can't say that enough. Don't do this. I walked around my car and I'm looking around thinking, like, what was that? And I'm thinking, what was that? Like, I can't explain it. And this fear just overcame me. It was just like, whoo, just, you know, like that. It was like telling me, get out of here, get out of here. Don't stand around for another second. Just get in your car and get out of here. So I remember my arm hairs standing up. I was that freaked out, and I got in my car, closed the door, locked it, put it in drive, and I just went towards Holbrook. And I remember, you know, it was getting closer and closer, and I was telling myself, just get to Holbrook, there are people there, you're gonna be okay. And you know, so got to Holbrook, went through town, went down the freeway a little bit, exited, and drove a little bit, and I was on the reservation at this point. And it wasn't until I was clear on the reservation when the horizon started getting lighter and lighter, because the sun was starting to come up. And I remember thinking the whole way, like, what was that? Like, where did those flashes come from? What were those flashes? And why did I think it was okay for me to get out of my car? And where did that fear come from? Like, I'm glad it came, you know, the fear, because who knows what would have happened. So I got home, and you know, at this point, I don't remember what happened. I got home, I visited with my family for a couple days, of course, and it ended up being one of those things that I just filed away in the back of my brain. And I think I may have told a few people about it, and didn't really, you know, nobody really explained it. And when they tried to explain it, they always said that it was photo radar enforcement, I'm gonna get a ticket, and you know, that sort of thing. So it wasn't until years later that I kind of got like a little bit of, I don't know, maybe an explanation, I'm not sure. So years later, I meet Sam, and I've been telling him about what happened to me on that deserted stretch of road in the middle of the night, when it's middle of the night dark is the best way I can describe how dark it was. I'm telling him about this, and he kind of like looks at me like, do you know what happened out there? Do you know what happened out there? He asked me that question, and I'm like, no, what happened? And he says, or he asks me, haven't you ever seen the movie Fire in the Sky? And I thought about it and I was like, I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it. And for those of you that haven't seen it, it's based off of a true story, or based off of true events, true story, I don't really know. But it's about a logger that claims that he was abducted by a UFO. And the kicker is that this happened in the general area, the general part of the state where these flashes happened to me. This guy claims to have been abducted in that general part of the state where these flashes happened to me. And it freaked me out, like, freaked me out. And of course I watched it at this point, and even to this day I think about, what was that? Like, what were those flashes like? Why did it go around me like this and from the back? And why did I get out of my car? And why did this fear finally hit me when it did? And I can't explain it. I can't. I've tried. I'm like, maybe I was tired, or maybe, you know, this, or maybe, I don't know. Like, I tried to explain it. I can't come up with an explanation, which is okay, but you can't help but wonder, what was that? Like, what was that? Of course, people, like I said, have said that photo radar enforcement. Okay, then how come I didn't get flash from the front? Because, you know, with photo radar enforcement, they take your picture from the front, they take your picture from the back of your license plate. There was no flashing from the front. I never received a ticket in the mail. I never received anything because, you know, everything was registered. It wasn't like, you know, whatever. I never received anything in the mail. And there was nothing. Like, there was, I can't explain it. And I can't explain how the lights went around, you know. And now along that stretch of highway, for those of you that are familiar with it, there are wind turbines there. Those wind turbines weren't there. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because at the tippity top of those wind turbines, there are pulsating lights. They kind of just pulsate like this. Probably more slower than what I'm doing here, but, you know, pulsating nonetheless. Those wind turbines were not there. I can guarantee you those wind turbines weren't there. This happened, like I said, 12, 13 years ago. They weren't there. I think those wind turbines probably were put up within the past 10 years. But they weren't there. I don't remember any photo radar enforcement because I have driven that route so many times, at least once a month for I don't know how many years. There was no sort of photo radar enforcement. And I can't explain what it was. I can't explain why I got out of my car. I can't explain that fear. And I just remember thinking, get to Holbrook, you're gonna be okay, there are people there. I remember thinking that. And the fact that this guy, this movie is about this guy who claims to have been abducted in that area, and it's supposed to be based off of a true story, freaks me out. So let me know what you think. I don't know. Let me know down below. If you're creeped out by this, give me a thumbs up, because then I won't feel crazy. And hopefully it got your gears turning up in your melon and you're like, do aliens exist? Because now I'm convinced. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed story time. I don't want to say I hope you're creeped out, but I hope you guys are like, and let me know what you think. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.